The wind outside rattled the shutters of the old ranch house, carrying with it the scent of dust and faraway storms. The sun was sinking low, spreading an amber glow across the plains, when a tall cowboy pushed open the heavy wooden door, his boots thudding against the worn floorboards. In his arms, cradled carefully against his chest, was a little girl in a pink nightgown, her wide eyes darting nervously around the unfamiliar place. She clung to him as though he were the last bit of safety left in the world. Behind him, her mother followed, her steps slow and uncertain, her face marked by both worry and exhaustion. She had been on the road too long, abandoned by promises that had faded into dust, left to fend for herself and her daughter with no place to go. But here, inside the warmth of this cabin, something began to shift. The cowboy's voice was steady, low, and sure as he said, "I've got room in my life for all of you." His words didn't just hang in the air, they sank deep, like roots finding soil, like water finding dry land. The woman stopped in her tracks. She searched his face, half expecting to see pity or charity, but what she found instead was a rugged sincerity. A man worn by hard work and long days who still carried a heart wide, enough to shelter more than just himself. The little girl buried her face in his shirt, sensing that his arms were strong, steady, and unshakable. The crackle of the fireplace behind them filled the silence, casting dancing shadows across the walls, and for the first time in a long time, the woman felt the faintest tug of hope. She had known many kinds of men, some careless, some cruel, some weak when life asked them to be strong. But this man stood rooted, unflinching, offering not just a roof over their heads but a place within his life. That promise felt heavier than gold. He guided them toward the hearth, lowering the little girl onto a chair cushioned with an old quilt, the fabric worn but soft from years of use. She glanced at the fire with a child's fascination, her small hands resting on her lap as though afraid to disturb the fragile peace of this moment. The cowboy crouched down, meeting her at eye level, his weathered face softened by the flame's glow. "You're safe now, little one," he said gently. "No more train stations. No more waiting for someone who ain't coming. You're home." The girl blinked up at him, a tear glistening in her lashes, and for the first time that day she let herself smile. It was small, tentative, but it was there. The woman sank into a chair opposite them, pulling her shawl tighter around her shoulders. The weariness of travel weighed on her bones, but she watched the cowboy with her daughter and felt something stir inside her chest, something she had long buried beneath layers of disappointment. Could this be real? Could someone truly mean what he said? The cowboy turned to her, his gaze steady. "You don't have to be alone anymore. This land's been quiet for too long. But it's got room for laughter, for voices, for family. I've got room in my life for all of you." His words were plain, but plain words were often the truest. She wanted to argue, to remind him that she and her daughter were nothing but trouble, a burden too heavy for any man to carry. But before she could speak, the little girl reached out and touched the cowboy's hand. "Can we stay?" she asked softly, her voice a whisper of hope. The cowboy's eyes softened and he gave a slow nod. "For as long as you need," he said. "And maybe even longer than that." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of promises unspoken, full of futures not yet written, full of second chances. The fire popped and crackled, the shadows danced, and outside the wind began to die down, as if even the storm itself knew it had no place here tonight. The woman felt tears well in her eyes, not from sadness but from the sheer weight of relief. She hadn't just stumbled into shelter. She had found a man whose arms could carry more than just her daughter. He could carry their fears, their dreams, their broken pieces, and still stand strong. Night settled over the plains, the stars beginning to blink awake in the endless sky. The cowboy rose to his feet, moving with quiet purpose, lighting lamps one by one until the whole cabin glowed like a beacon against the dark. He set a kettle over the fire and turned back to them, his hat resting on the table, his dark hair falling loose across his shoulders. "There's food, there's warmth, and there's room here for you both," he said. "I reckon the world's done enough taken from you. Let me give back." His words carried no grand gesture, no pretense, just the steady certainty of a man who meant every syllable. The little girl leaned against her mother, eyes heavy with sleep, but before she drifted off, she whispered, "Mama, I think we're home now." The woman kissed her daughter's hair, her heart swelling with gratitude she couldn't yet put into words. She met the cowboy's gaze across the firelight, and in that moment she understood. This wasn't charity. It wasn't pity, it was love. The kind that grows slow and steady, rooted deep like the plains themselves. And so, within the walls of that ranch house, as the night pressed close and the fire burned bright, three souls began the journey of becoming a family. The cowboy's words lingered in the air like a blessing, echoing long after the room grew quiet. I've got room in my life for all of you. Friends, if this story touched your heart, if it made you feel the power of love, of second chances, and of finding home where you least expect it, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Every story we share is meant to inspire, to lift your spirit, and to remind you that hope is never too far away. Subscribe today because more stories like this one are waiting just for you. Stories that will stay with you long after the last word is spoken.